This week, a brand new model from Honda, the relatively recently released Honda ZRV. ZRV, it's a little bit confusing, and that's why in the title I've also included HRV, because this car in America is the HRV, and in Australia we get the ZRV, HRV and CRV. Very confusing. So the ZRV-HRV is known as the ZRV here. Comes in 4 grades with 2 drivetrains, a 1.5 litre turbo and this 2 litre hybrid. And Honda considers it to be in the same category as a Toyota RAV4. But it's not really in the same category, in my opinion, because it's front-wheel drive only. And the 4 model lineup looks more or less the same, 18-inch wheels on the top model, 17-inch on the others, and they all come with adaptive LED headlights, which I like very much indeed. There's a nice kind of vertical grille, and you'll notice that the front is very un-Honda-esque. It's not like CRV or any of the other Hondas. And there's more too. There is still plenty of clearance, so you could, if you want to do a little bit of light off-roading. I'm not quite sure that a front-wheel drive car off-road is going to do very well for you, but it's there anyway. And this nice kind of metallic reddy browny colour, I think is probably my favourite colour. Though in Australian conditions, we're probably better off with a white car. Then there's the shape. It's nice and flat down the side. There's just a couple of little undulations. And I quite like this kind of Porsche-esque rear window. It just looks really smart. There isn't an angle of this car that I don't like. Even from the back, it looks really smart. And of course, all of the lighting is LED. And these look really smart at night. They've got those progressive indicators, but only at the front. There is an electric tailgate on this top model, and you can alter the height of it by pressing and holding this button when you get to the height that you want. And the other button is a lock and walk away, or walk away and lock. Not sure that I'd trust it. The other thing to keep in mind is that this hybrid model does not have a spare tyre. It's only got a repair kit, which is, as you know, not one of my favourite things, but pretty much all EVs and hybrids are the same. There is plenty of room in the back, and the seats go down 60/40. There's a nice level loading lip and dual exhausts. And there's one thing about being inside, and that is there is so much room back here. This is really, really spacious. Not only are the doors easy to get in, but there's tons of space once you are in the car. Even with the front seat right back, there's still tons of space. And this seat's set for me to drive, and there's still tons of space. There's 2 USB-Cs and a couple of outlets. And most of the range has genuine fake artificial leather upholstery. And the good thing about this, unlike the smaller cousin, is that this is a proper 5-seat version. So if you want to have someone sit in the back, you just lift the headrests up a bit. Otherwise, they're down out of the driver's way. There's been a big difference inside too with this new model. I haven't bothered with the ridiculous frippery of a sunroof, which I really like because frankly, I'd option it out anyway. There's the floating tablet. This is their latest system. And of course it includes, as I said, wireless CarPlay. If you've got Android Auto, you still have to hook up to USB. Apart from the 2 USBs in the back, there's another USB-C in the front and a USB-A. And the USB-Cs are all high-speed charging, which we really like. The one noticeable absence though here is there's no heads-up display, and I would think in a car in the mid-50s, I would expect a heads-up display. Nonetheless, the dash is almost completely digital. Air conditioning controls are nice and simple. There's dual zone and a sync button, and you don't have to go into a menu for that, but you do have to go into a menu for everything else, including things like radio and so forth, which I find really annoying. And I think there's enough room along here if you wanted to put some one-touch buttons so that you could program those for anything that you like. While we're on the subject of the dashboard though, this neat kind of honeycomb arrangement, that's straight from a Civic. Then we go down onto the dash where the top two models have a wireless charger, and you'll notice this very odd looking gear selector thing that is only for this hybrid. It's got a park button and a drive button and a neutral button, but reverse is a pullback kind of button. The drive mode button though is simple. It's economy, normal, sport. And I do like the fact that I can keep an eye on where my power's going and also how full the battery is and so forth. If I just go home here, I can bring the flow meter up and that shows just what the battery's doing. So at the moment, the battery is powering the air conditioning, which I've had on because although it's only 23 degrees, cars get really hot inside. When I got into this car, it was lovely and cool. And the other thing I want to point out before we set off though, is that there's a little graphic here on the center of the dash that shows brake lights, headlights, and indicators so that you can tell on this what's actually happening with your car, which I really like. Now, as you take off, the brake will release, but it doesn't come on automatically when you put it into park. Now, one thing I will say is with the front wheel drive, there is quite a bit of torque steer. 315 Newton meters may not sound like a lot, but when you're putting it through front wheels, it's more than enough to be going on with. Now, in one of my previous videos, I did say that the CVT still had that elastic band feel, and so it does. Lovely. And to be honest, it's not something that I like the feel of. There is, of course, lane steering and lane centering, and I will say that the active cruise control on this is particularly good. It is really, really good. There is a little bit of cabin noise that I wouldn't expect. Maybe it's the tyres, I don't know. But it's not a terribly well-maintained road, and the ride is lovely. And that's the one thing that I felt this week, is the ride and handling in this is vastly superior to the HRV. While we've stopped, I want to talk a little bit about the Bose speakers which this top model has. And the sound is, it's okay. It's not brilliant, it's okay. The steering wheel buttons are lovely and easy to work out. There's speed limiter and cruise control, and you can set the distance from the car in front by pressing this button. It's all very easy to work. The AEB too, the automatic emergency braking, it is fairly sophisticated, as most of the new ones are, and it shows pedestrians and vehicles and animals and bikes and all sorts of stuff. There doesn't seem to be much of a limit on what it can do for you. In most cases, this is what the ZRV is going to be used for. Short city runs. That was it telling me that my blind spot could see a car in the other lane. And it's something that really annoys me about blind spot monitor, is that it's not smart enough to know that everybody is turning a corner. All of the active and passive safety gear is configurable by the user, and you can turn things on and off as you like them. So I've got the smart cruise control active and the steering active. Once you do that, you can see that at the side it has the other cars around you showing up in the style of Tesla, which I like very much. And the green lines, if there's a bend in the road, the green lines bend as well. So to wrap up, this is Honda's newest version. It's Honda's newest car, and it's their first completely brand new model range in 20 years. It completes the SUV lineup of HRV, ZRV and CRV. That's all this week from GayCarBoys and Honda's ZRV. I really like this car a lot. The question that the buyer will ask themselves is it worth the money? As always, hit like, leave a comment, and just over there to subscribe.